Joe was hardly the kind of character that would instill fear and trembling, terror. He was barely 5'4", hardly 100 pounds, well into his 70s. Hardly the paragon of strength. He would wander the ward all day long, up and down, just walking, muttering to himself. As I listened, they were names: Sullivan, Fitzsimmons, Dempsey, Tunney, Schmeling, Lewis, Marciano, Patterson, Johansson, Liston, Fraser, Foreman, Norton. It took me a while to begin to identify them, and then it struck me. They were boxers, heavyweight champions. I wonder if Joe was a boxer. I wonder what his story was. And so one night, when I was working the night shift, and there was not much for me to do other than sit and talk to staff, listen to their stories, I asked about Joe. So, what's his story? And her eyes got big. She said, now that's one to be afraid of. He's dangerous. I said, Joe? She said, yeah. You know that list? I said, yeah, boxers. Was Joe a boxer? We have no idea. But if he ever gets to Ali, you find a safe place to hide, or even better, get off the ward and call security. Because all hell is going to break loose. Because when he hits Ali, suddenly he starts screaming he was nothing but a street fighter, a baller, brawler. He was garbage. And then it explodes. She told stories of Joe flipping beds up on end, tearing bookshelves off the walls, breaking windows, ripping doors off the hinges, crashing through the bulletproof wired glass of the office, sending staff to the hospital with broken bones, contusions, and concussions. She said, he is not one to mess with. Be careful around Joe. I admit, she made her point. And when I had to work that ward, my head was on a swivel and my ears attuned to the litany, always in the back of my mind. Ali, Ali. I imagine it was that kind of fear and constant alertness that possessed the people of the Gerasenes when they encountered their Joe, the unnamed man who wandered the cemeteries, crazy, and yet they could find nothing to restrain him, contain him. He broke all their attempts to bind him. He was frightening, for he was out of their control. He was dangerous, and they were wary and fearsome. But perhaps even more frightening to them was the day they found Joe in his right mind, sitting with this stranger called Jesus. Because even scarier than a crazy one is the one who can heal him. Now that's power and authority. That's frightening. Because if you can't contain the crazy ones, what about the one who can? And what does this mean for us as a people? Well, they discovered very quickly it doesn't help the economy much, because when Jesus sends the evil spirits out of the young man, they inhabit the local herd of swine, pigs, and they go rushing off the cliff to their death. Not a good day to be a pig farmer. This Jesus must go. He is dangerous. And they send him away. The young man wants to go with him, but Jesus sends him back into the community with the instructions to tell the story. We live in a world of craziness these days. We don't know from hour to hour what's going to happen in our world or our lives. We're at war. Did you know that? Yeah, it happened overnight. How many of us went to bed not knowing we were at war, and now we are? Crazy. And we're quick to find scapegoats for all this craziness, whether they're politicians or economists, whether the medical field, whether they dwell in our communities, in our churches, in our homes. We know who the crazy people are, and we're quick to point them out, to call them into question. However, one of the great learnings I had when I worked the mental hospital was the fine line between crazy and sanity. Most days was who held the key to get themselves off the ward. You see, we're all crazy. We're all sick. We're all broken. That's why we're so quick to find scapegoats, because it makes us feel better. But the truth is, we all are in need of healing. You might think we would all be rushing to Jesus to be made whole. But sometimes health and healing is scarier than our craziness, because we know our craziness. We've gotten comfortable with it. We've gotten complacent with it. We've gotten used to it. But to be healed, what does that look like? It's no wonder we push Jesus to the sidelines, ignore him, paint him in a light like ours. We can try to constrain him with stuffy liturgies or drown him out with praise bands. We create a Jesus that we can control, or so we think. And yet Jesus comes among us in so many different guises, bringing healing. Healing from all the craziness, whether it be institutional or personal. He comes with the news that I will make you whole. Shalom, wholeness, a peace that the world cannot give, he offers, that we might know that healing and oneness. And when he shows up, and when he brings those gifts to us, all he asks of us is to go and tell the story of how we who were lost have been found, we who were as good as dead have been made alive, we who were absolutely crazy are now made whole. And so we go and tell that the world might come to him for healing and hope and courage to meet a new day